going back to all those different glimpses and moments of time and shit like that are a really cool thing to be able to do live. And it's definitely like a form of like therapy. You know what I mean? That's for sure. I don't know too many people after they have a good performance on stage, get off stage and be like, fucking hate this shit. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not the result you get. Like, if you have a good show and a good crowd and you do what you do up there and there's no technical problems or bullshit, you know, you always feel great because it's a great thing. Live music, performing live is an amazing thing.
Nathan, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. You've been a busy bee. You've been active. We've seen a lot of singles of you over the last, several months. But now a debut album is coming. That's always special. So how are you feeling right now?
I feel good and like restless, because I guess a lot's about to happen. But I'm doing nothing, and so it feels like, what am I doing? But yeah, hopefully it goes a little bit how I plan everything to go or better, and just keep my fingers crossed. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, it is you find yourself in a whirlwind, and then now the calm before the storm, if you will. Does that also allow you to take a step back and look back on everything that's happened in the last few years for you? Because it has been busy. This forced calm time.
Yeah, I think you never know what's going to happen, right? I always like to say it's organized chaos.
Yeah.
And just live and embrace the organized chaos, because things are always changing by the second, by the hour, by the day. And that's what I call organized chaos. You just kind of just roll with it until it's, sealed, finalized, and done,
Yeah. Are you somebody that doesn't do well with calm and quiet?
Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't, because I'll get the guilty conscience of, oh, fuck, I'm not working, I'm not doing enough, I need to be always doing something to feel like I'm being productive. But that's sometimes the most false thing. You got to know when to be productive, when to relax. Everything's about balance.
Yeah, for sure. To talk about balance for a real quick second here. I mean, you are balanced out on stage. We've seen your posting content. I've seen fragments of shows by two guys that we see, the same dudes. Nathan James, is that still very much a solo project, or should we look at this more and more as a band?
Nathan James will always be a solo project. You can think of it like Marilyn Manson or Rob Zombie. Plays for the live band, solo project. Yeah. I'm an alien. I feel the change.
There's something wrong. You bring an extremely eclectic music. Lots of influences there. You've dubbed it yourself new metal. I mean, there's a lot of that going on for sure. You've got a very colorful past. I mean, people that have been following you know that you've been doing a lot of work as photography as well. Being exposed to all these different kind of people, because you've been working with a ton of different people from different genres, from different walks of life. Has that journey also influenced, when you're creating music? Like how impactful was that?
Yeah, I mean, coming from such a creative background with photography and just art in general is a huge advantage, right? For my own self as a musician now. So, I think I have a definite advantage over most musicians because they have to rely so heavily on other people to do those things, whereas myself, I'm able to do them myself. And that plays a huge impact on just so much of what my brand is and how I built everything now. There's no fucking way I could be where I'm currently at right now if I wouldn't have had all this photography and art and videography past, because I've used all that stuff to catapult myself to where I currently am now, and I'm going to continue to use it to try to get to where I want to be,
Yeah, not every musician is comfortable with that whole brand building exercise. For you were already on that journey.
Yeah, a lot of people are. Yeah, a lot of people are fearful and too concerned on what are other people going to think,
Yeah. It reminds me of, I think it was a a clip on Instagram that you posted not too long ago, I think, where you're talking about that process, and I think you were talking about the silver dye for your hair, and talking
Oh yeah,
about
yeah, just
it's better to
evolving
be
and shit. It's
100%.
evolving. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, 100% yourself, or yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah. So this is an interesting thing, like, because um, we've got like we're in this weird time. It feels that, especially with like adolescent men or guys growing up, there seems to be like a whole kind of resurgence of like, oh, hey, you have to be a tough guy, you have to be a strong guy. A lot of influencers out there are talking about how men have to be real men again. You're on the
Mm.
other end, not afraid to actually saying like, hey, I might be a big dude, but my music is pretty fucking vulnerable, and I open up and I want to be myself. Like, how important is that? And is that does that come natural at this point for you, or is that still scary to do? Because you do touch on some very vulnerable elements of your life in your music.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the biggest thing for me, right, is I never want to go off of doing things based upon like how other people will judge it. I mean, obviously that is a little bit in the back of your mind, right? We always wonder what other people are going to think, but I always
Right.
try to keep it as true as possible. Just
You're
like
still
how do I
entertaining.
feel and what do I want? Yeah, what do I want to do? And how do I feel about the stuff? But yeah, I have no problem. Like my song Alienation was definitely a more vulnerable type of
Definitely.
song, or even one of my older songs, Okay, Okay. It's another vulnerable type of song. And I think that's the toughest thing to do is, know who you are, which is for me, I'm just to the point about my shit, but also like, I'm a human being too. So I have emotions as well. I'm not always tough
Right.
guy 24/7.
Yeah. When
So, and then
you
having that balance of tough and gentle, you know?
yeah. When in so like Alienation is a perfect example. When you open up in those ways, and sure, like the for people coming to a show or listening to the song and just kind of go, kind of get lost in like just the vibe of the song and having fun at a show, what have you. Like, not everybody's necessarily going to from the get-go get all the everything that you open up on, the details, and how dark a song like that can be, even if it's a fun song to party to, maybe. For you as an
Yeah.
artist, though, how is that, that you've poured yourself into a song like that, and then a song becomes popular, and now you have to perform that song over and over and over again, like people are going to demand from you that you play that song. Is that Does every time you perform it, does that make it easier to deal with the demons you pour in these songs, or is that always kind of like a little bit of PTSD that you have to revisit that?
Well, there's certain songs, right, that are more emotional, whether it's on the spectrum of being, tough or being vulnerable. And there's also certain songs that when you perform them live, you feel like you really go back into that place and it makes you feel good to sing it. And there's some songs where it's no big deal at all, you know what I mean? But for me, when I'm performing live, whatever that song is or how that song was made or written or performed, I always go back to like that state. And it's cool to perform live for me anyways, because I always adapt the person and how I felt when I made that song and I portray it out live. So going back to all those different glimpses and moments of time and shit like that are a really cool thing to be able to do live. And it's definitely like a form of like therapy.
Right,
I mean, that's for sure. I don't know too many people after they have a good performance on stage, get off stage and be like, fucking hate this shit. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not the result you get. Like, if you have a good show and a good crowd and you do what you do up there and there's no technical problems or bullshit, you always feel great because it's a great thing. Live music, performing live is an amazing thing.
Bring me back to earth. I'm breathing foreign air just to show my worth. Will I ever adapt or am I falling behind? Just another lost soul.
Is there for you? Is there a line in the sand? Like it has the brand of like, yes, it's you, your person, but there's also a brand now, and you're now starting to also build a signature sound in a way. Is there
Yeah.
is there are there things that are too crazy that you won't go into that you flirted with so far, or
Yeah.
does anything goes?
I think, okay, so when I first started like the music thing, right, I like all sorts of type of music except country.
Right.
I'm not really like a big country guy. So when I first started, I was down to kind of make just whatever could be made, and whoever I was working with, whatever they're able to make, And I was like, I'll just figure it out from there. So, it started with a lot of like emo rap stuff, and then got a little more into pop punk, and then I got a little more into like the heavier stuff and kind of the mix of, hip hop, melodic, and heavy shit, which is where it's currently at now. And I think I'm not afraid to go any direction. I just want to make the stuff that I feel is just like in alignment of me and what I like as my sound to be. Like, think of it like a clothing brand, right?
Right.
I feel like now I kind of know what my clothing brand is like a little bit, and I like the stuff and I want to keep making it. And if I ever don't like that stuff and I want to have some new stuff, I'll make some new stuff. But as of right now, the type of stuff that I'm putting out and making, I have no complaints, and I just want to keep making it,
Yeah. All right. Now, once this album comes out, and it's the release is just the start of it. You said before, like this is kind of like the calm of it.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
there's
gonna
so
be
much
busy.
preparation. Yeah, there's so much preparation to even before and even now, and then there's even more after. So I'm just trying to get everything. I think the biggest thing I've never released an album before. I've released several singles. I know that when you put a lot of effort behind a single, and when the single is out and you're trying to promote it, the biggest thing is just your mental. You gotta just really mentally just, not get too high, not get too low, and just stay at it with just trying to push it, and just all the short form content, and just you gotta let the results be the results, as I always say, because your expectations versus reality can sometimes be good in a good way or bad in a bad way,
Yeah.
So trying to stay level-headed and not too high, not too low is really important. And just being happy that I just completed my first album and I was able to put it together. And it's just been a long time coming. I've always wanted to do that, and I'm glad I never did until now, because I understand why. Sometimes albums take a while to piece together. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, by saying also at the beginning of this conversation, like, hey, Nathan James is always going to be a solo project, you do also then take the full load on your own shoulders, and you kind of have to carry all of that yourself. Regardless of the team you have around you, is it because, like, if you were the guitar player in a band of 5 people, you could quite literally disappear for a moment. You never can do so. You're almost like you're your own mascot, right? You're your own Eddie of Iron Maiden. Is that daunting?
It's tough. Yeah, dude, it's tough, man.
I'm an alien. I feel the change. There's something wrong.
So a question that I have for you, because you come from this artistic background. You've done some really cool stuff in your music videos.
Yeah.
So you've covered a bunch of different art forms, if you will, already. But is there like an end game for you? If we give you the resources you need and we let you go crazy, does that mean that you want to have like a full-blown movie or like a Broadway style musical? I'm just saying something, or a graphic novel to tell your stories, because I have a feeling that, based on the energy that you have and based on your experience, that quote unquote just music isn't gonna cut it for you.
Yeah, it's definitely not. I just love doing creative shit, and something I've wanted to do and hope to do one day is direct a movie or a TV show, because I really want to do that. And I think that would, if I could wave the magic wand and get whatever I want, I'd want to be the fucking biggest artist in the fucking world, and also direct some of the biggest movies or TV shows in the world. That's the goal, is to reach as close to that as possible.
Yeah. So in other words, eventually in the future, audio and visual art forms are going to come together in an epic way that we are not ready for.
All of it come together, man. I think that's where things are probably going.
Yeah. All we know is that it won't be a country album. That's just for sure.
Yeah, I won't be doing no country shit. That's for damn sure.
Awesome. All right. So, Nathan, like once this album is out, I mean, there's going to be demands through the roof. People are going to want to see you play a lot more. What can we at this point keep our eyes open and our fingers crossed for?
It's gonna be a cool ass body of work to just listen to, and then a lot of cool visuals, a lot of dope music videos, and then just seeing how the feedback is. I'm already starting to write more songs too. And I was working on the next batch of songs for 2026. I'll be promoting this for the rest of the year and going hard with that.
It's you're going to be always on for quite a while. So I would say enjoy this calm before the storm, these few days that you get where you can just think and reflect, because you won't have any time for that anytime soon. Thank you so much for your time today, Nathan. I really appreciate it. We hope to see you up here in Toronto sooner rather than later. And I wish you all the best with this debut album.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me on, Jasper.
Shape that I don't seem to understand. Hiding from the sun, I'd rather lurk in the dark, 'cause I'm a prisoner to everything I hold in my heart.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.